Hi everyone, thank you as always for stopping by, and thank you for your subscriptions and comments and interaction. It is appreciated. I wanted to share with you that the latest country showing the problems within Jehovah's Witnesses and the child abuse cover-ups is Belgium. And they have just shown tonight a documentary. It's on their channel Pano of what has been happening for them. Now in Belgium you have two languages, and this was in Dutch. Had it been in French, I'd have had a bit more of an opportunity to know what they meant, but I don't know Flemish. But you've got here an ex-elder will share how he followed the instruction of a 1997 letter to send detailed reports on paedophiles to the branch in the blue envelopes, those famous blue envelopes. And the broadcaster has promised to release the program with English subtitles on their page in the beginning of next week. So it's something to look forward to, and thank you very much to the XJW Redditors for sharing all this. Frodo Commode, a good Redditor there who keeps us up to date with it all. So we have an introductory article. I love this JW Leaks remit there. Can you see? To err is human, to leak is divine. Pano explains how Jehovah's Witnesses cover up sexual abuse. They are the paradise for child abusers. Jehovah's Witnesses have been covering sexual abuse of minors within the organisation for years through an internal judicial system. That is the conclusion of a study by Pano. Now, all these, I have to say here that these TV companies, these journalists, they're independent. They're not connected up. They're in different continents and countries and everything, but they come into the same conclusions. So that was the broadcast they've just had. Pano spoke with both victims and with ex-elders, men who act as judges within the organisation. They tell how they have covered child sexual abuse and how the organisation is aware of perpetrators but does not report it to the appropriate authorities. A few months ago, the editorial staff of the VRT NWS programme Pano started an investigation into the sexual abuse of children within the community of Jehovah's Witnesses. The problem had already surfaced in 13 other countries, I would say at least. At the end of December, IACSO, the independent cult watchdog in our country, sounded the alarm. There would also be victims in Belgium. We went researching and found many. They tell how they were not heard and helped within the organisation, and how they must remain silent. That same story. Internal legal/judicial system, the power of the elders. Jehovah's Witnesses have their own internal judicial system where crimes are punished. Such a judicial committee will always consists of men whom the organisation calls elders. They investigate allegations based on biblical text. We spoke with various ex-elders. They tell how they have covered sexual child abuse and how the top of the organisation is aware of offenders but does not go to the police. Yes, indeed. We had instructions that in the case of sexual abuse, you should first contact the head office here in Belgium. So, same as the other countries then, says an ex-elder, and they would then instruct you on how to proceed with tricky issues in the interest of the cleanliness of our community. Cleanliness community? What about protection and healing for the children? And then one of the first things they ask you is whether that girl or we have already come out with it. So literally we are told not to take steps like going to the police to report that. And again, I've mentioned before that it was reported last year in Ireland, Republic of Ireland, that elders were officially removed by Watchtower for going to the police to report a pedophile. The cover-up, the word of the perpetrator against your word, via international whistleblowers, because they put international. We also collected hundreds of pages of secret internal legal documents and letters explaining step by step how matters such as child sexual abuse are handled internally. Often the victim and perpetrator must appear before the internal judicial committee. If the offender denies, there must be 2 testimonials, that 2-witness rule. Only then will the offender be convicted and excluded from the organisation. This is almost never the case with the sexual abuse. As a result, the abuse in many cases has no consequences for the perpetrators. There are never 2 witnesses, explains an elder. Well, I guess there can be, but that would be rarer. And no matter how sad it is, you can really only say to that girl, I would say, of course, as a boy, as a victim, it is the word of your perpetrator against your word. Leave it alone in the hands of Jehovah. Jehovah's Witnesses are almost the paradise for child abusers. How many times does that get said? Adds ex-elder Patrick. We think it's time for this dirty jar to be opened. They have kept all facts and names. See this in the past week, the Atlantic and the Rolling Stone and the rest who have reported on it. Ah, dearie me. Jehovah's Witnesses apply the same system throughout the world. They have also been under attack for some time for various cases of sexual abuse that have come to light. The organisation also documents the facts and names. For example, Jehovah's Witnesses will be in possession of a list of child abusers. We also talk to an international whistleblower, Jason Wynn. I've covered him. I'll put a link to that at the end. The world headquarters, every serious sin every member has committed, and their thing that includes also having a secret cigarette. Jeez, they have it on file. There is something seriously wrong with this. Response: Jehovah's Witnesses Belgium. The spokesperson for the Jehovah's Witnesses, Louis DeWitt, was anyone ever more ironically named, denies the accusations and only wanted to respond in writing to our report. The organisation said, we attach great importance to the well-being of children and to refer them to the judicial authorities at all times. Wow, liar. He also said that there is no place within their religious community for those who practice such practices. I need a video of me like just smashing my head against a damn wall with that. The federal public prosecutor is currently investigating but does not want to provide any further information. And a working group has been set up in the federal parliament that will look into the problem in the coming weeks. So bear that in mind. This is Belgium, right near to Holland, which has been very proactive right now as well, saying, no, we've had enough. This has to stop. Oh, next, JW Reddit, there was a second article. I didn't think that added much, but I'm going to add this from Jason Wynn, who has put up a third report from the Belgian national broadcaster today. Sexual abuse has also come to light in Jehovah's Witnesses in these countries. Sexual abuse among Jehovah's Witnesses has been a recurring topic in many countries for years. At the end of last year, our cult watchdog, EAXO, made a summary of what is going on abroad in that area. In almost all cases, it is striking that the witnesses try to settle the abuse within the walls of the organisation, even without reporting crimes to the court. It is also striking that the victims are also particularly weak. This is a translation, so it may have lost something within that. Jan Gerritz. The report provides an overview of what has happened in 13 different countries and/or is about sexual abuse among Jehovah's Witnesses. In addition, the report contains recommendations to improve the situation, as indeed many recommendations have been made to Watchtower to improve the situation. Not that it's damned rocket science, it really isn't. The report contains data up to August last year. It was then transferred simultaneously to the Belgian headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses and to the federal parliament. There was no response from the witnesses. Oh, quelle surprise. The chamber, on the other hand, established a working group. You see, the world has to get on. They're the ones that get off their asses and do something about it. They're investigating the matter more thoroughly. They met for the first time on Tuesday, 12th of March. I wish them well with that. It continues in the United States. There were already 16 trials of sexual abuse of children within the Jehovah's Witness community in 2007. Several people were convicted, and in some cases the organisation itself was convicted. And of course, we're only talking about the tip of the iceberg. In one case, the witnesses had to pay a victim compensation of no less than $2.8 million. Also, in recent years, cases have become public in the US where victims were put under pressure not to go to court, or where the court did not receive internal documents about abuse within the organisation. So we're going to be talking, look, if you're not aware, go to the campus case in in California, where in Norway, a former Jehovah's Witness in 1996 reportedly told the police, oh heavens to Betsy, that he had abused children for 23 years. There would be between 35 and 50 victims involved. How do we take in those numbers? I don't know. The facts would have been known to the elders of his congregation. They expelled him from the organisation, whoop-de-doo, but they did not report it to the authorities, and thus leaving every other goddamn child in his goddamn vicinity vulnerable. After his departure, the perpetrator would be convicted of new cases of sexual abuse, so that proves it. They released him off into the community, and who gives a damn about those children which he did subsequently abuse? Damn it. In France, elders and witnesses were convicted in 2 different cases in the late 1990s because they had not reported cases of child abuse to justice. In 2013, a former witness said in a newspaper that there are 375 possible cases of confessed rapes within the organisation. In 2017, 2 collective legal claims were filed against the witnesses in Canada, and that's still ongoing. The allegation is that they create an environment in which abuses are protected, and where reporting the abuse to the authorities is discouraged. It is not yet clear how many victims will join the trial. They're being comprehensive here. A royal commission was set up in Australia in 2012 to address the sexual abuse of minors, and to be fair, that was across all organisations and charities and institutions. The final report specifically referred to Jehovah's Witnesses. For example, they were asked to abandon the rule that sexual abuse is only prosecuted if there are 2 witnesses. I think the word prosecuted is very generous there. Women must also be admitted to internal courts, and they must stop ignoring people who leave the witnesses for abuse. In the United Kingdom, there have been several complaints against witnesses over the last few years about inadequate action in cases of abuse. In 2018, the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse decided to conduct an investigation into sexual abuse within the organisation. The number of victims involved was not disclosed, but the Committee of Inquiry refers to a considerable number. The Guardian newspaper speaks of hundreds of victims, whereas according to a lawyer of a few victims, it runs into the thousands. And there have been very strong landmark cases in the UK that are in the public domain. In the Netherlands, since its founding at the end of 2017, the organisation Reclaim Voices, well done to them, has already collected several hundred testimonials from people who say they have been sexually abused within Jehovah's Witnesses. Reclaim Voices has asked the witnesses to deliver the internal reports to the public prosecutor. Oh, and again, what a surprise, that has not happened. The House of Representatives said in mid-2018 that it wanted to launch an investigation into the secrecy culture within Jehovah's Witnesses, and because the organisation itself shows no willingness to cooperate. Around the same time, a judicial investigation was also started in response to various complaints filed. This is shameful, absolutely shameful. A religious charity. Damn shameful, worldwide shame. A few months ago, a series of house searches followed in that case. The same problems are everywhere. Keep with me, we're getting near the end. Sect watchdog EXO concludes on the basis of what happens in other countries that the problems are the same almost everywhere. The problem that Jehovah's Witnesses have when dealing with cases of sexual abuse is due to the way the organisation is organised. There is a very strict hierarchy. If it were a loving, biblical, spiritual hierarchy, there would be no problem. Jehovah's Witnesses condemn sexual abuse, but do not pursue a policy where abuse is reported directly to the police, and I would add also to heal and treat the victims. In addition, victims who leave the organisation are ignored and they lose any social contact. What also comes back is that victims must regularly make statements about their abuse in the presence of the perpetrator, and if that perpetrator denies it, he will only be prosecuted if there are 2 witnesses to the abuse. Now, there are women involved in the disciplinary system of Jehovah's Witnesses. How much of a litany of shame can this corrupt and evil institution survive? If you are a JW, it's painful. It's horrible for you to see this, as it was damned horrible for all of us to see it. But it's real. You can look at the court cases. Wake up. I know it's hard and I know it's painful. Someone just wrote in the last few days publicly in a comment, "Oh, I've seen this. What do I do now?" Yeah, I felt for them. This wasn't, "Oh, you've been in it, oh, ho, ho." No, I mean, what they were going through, I mean, how painful to wake up. I see it. I understand. I believe it. What do I do? Well, and also, I mean, the fault of this is not with whistleblowers, the fault is not with victims, the fault is not with journalists, the fault is not with governments who are investigating. The fault is with the organisation, the fault is with their cover-ups, and the fault is with the bullying that they're continuing to do to members who speak out. That's where the fault lies. Jesus said, "You will know my people by the love they show." The real love. It's not happening. Shame on you, Watchtower. I want to go and vomit now. Ugh, you're disgusting.